I will call the regular meeting, Ridgway Town Council for November 13th, 2024 to order. And ask for a roll call, please.
Councilors Grambley,
Here.
Kroger, here, Bacon, here, Schuyler,
Here.
Scoville, here, Mayor Pro Tem Meyer,
Here.
Mayor Clark.
Here. Thank you for all being here today. And thank you to the members of the public that are here as well on this early winter evening, not too cold out there. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
I have two to the consent agenda.
Okay,
First is a water leak adjustment for Citizen State Bank. And the next is a liquor license renewal for Ballerina Restaurant.
okay, thank you. Anything else? Sir. You have. So that takes us to the consent calendar. Is there anything on there anybody wants to pull off, or is there a motion approved?
So no.
Second. Motion by Polly, second by Russ. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. That takes us to public comments. Establish time for the public to address the council on it's not otherwise on the agenda. Bart?
Good evening, John.
Good evening.
I wanted to talk quickly about the upcoming budget presentation on an agenda item later on this evening. But I've got a letter of support. It's a joint support between the baseball club and us to that to come up with the engineering documents and basis for phase 2 in the budget. So we just wanted to register our support for that line item.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything to do with this letter?
I'll pay it.
Yeah, Sean?
Hi guys, what up, Sean? Good to see you again. I just found out from Shannon a few days ago, the planning commission thing on kind of relooking at how ADUs are able to be rented. And talking to numerous people, we're kind of like, oh, did not know this is happening. And we just kind of wanted to address our concerns of how having someone who has a short-term rental license with an ADU, like how that would affect us financially. And really just kind of have questions on, are people that have short-term license, are they grandfathered in? Are there ways to look at? I saw from like the August planning commission meeting, when it was brought to you maybe in September, then in October, it looked like there was like changes that were made with the occupancy stuff, about people not living on their property and having an ADU and their main dwelling unit and stuff like that. So we just kind of have questions that we're not really sure where the planning commission stands, and kind of where the town council stands. And yeah, I know for me, having a short-term rental license like makes living here financially feasible. I feel like a lot of people in my situation are also like community members. I know when Airbnb became a big thing in Telluride, like there was empty houses all the time, and there was millionaires moving in and making money. And like, I feel like for a lot of people in Ridgway, that's not our situation. We're working class people who contribute to town. We're trying to supplement our income because it's expensive to live here, and we just want you guys to know that and kind of further that dialogue. I assume that's more of the planning commission meeting, which is November 26th is the next one.
Yes.
26th, yeah.
26. Yeah, it's one of those things that just kind of popped up on our radar this week, and make sure that our voices are heard and that our concerns are addressed to. Because yeah, it's a huge part of, I mean, being a teacher and trying to make it work is difficult, and people find ways to make it work. And I had a dad that generated a lot of time and effort to help me build my house and build this ADU and stuff like that. And I feel fortunate to be in this position now, and don't want that taken away from me, because it'd be extremely tough. So.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
I don't know what the status is about grandfathering and things like that, but we can certainly discuss it in the planning commission. I think that's probably the appropriate channel. Okay, thanks, Sean.
Yep.
Anybody else have public comment? Yes, welcome.
Yeah, hi, everyone. I know some of you I don't know. My name is Shannon Weinberg, and I just wanted to follow up on what Sean had said earlier. I think STRs are easy to villainize and easy to point a finger at until you actually see who is actually seeing this as a necessary means to continue their lives and their families in Ridgway. We're single moms. We are single people who don't have additional incomes. We work for schools. Our kids are in the schools. We are community members. You know, my personal situation, I didn't have the luxury of buying a home 5-10 years ago. I had to buy 2 years ago, and I bought my home knowing that I was a single mom and relying on, you know, the existing opportunities to me to be able to, you know, make a financially responsible decision for me and my children to continue staying in Ridgway, you know, in the midst of a divorce. So I just wanted to echo everything that Sean said, and just to put another face to a lot of people who are in a similar situation as me. I'm Shannon. I'm your neighbor and friend, single mom, and I benefit greatly from being able to continue living in this community, and I'm grateful for that. So I just wanted to introduce myself, and I look forward to learning more about how we can work together to make sure that we, you know, are seeing, you know, the bigger picture here and not just jumping to being narrowly focused. So thank you for listening.
Thanks for coming, Shannon.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon. Anyone else? Okay, that takes us to, oh, sorry,
Question. So the public hearings.
come on back up, just so,
People online can't hear you otherwise.
yeah.
So this kind of just puts this like on the agenda for next time or for this meeting directly, like our public concerns.
Yeah, it'll be brought up at planning commission.
So this is a public, I call it the standard public comment period for folks to talk about things that aren't on the agenda.
Okay.
We assure you, your comments are heard and will be addressed at a future meeting of not only the town council, but the planning commission on November 26th. So that's a good, perfect forum for you, Shannon, and others to come by and voice your thoughts and opinions on the owner occupancy requirement, the ADUs allowable or not allowable, or short-term rentals and beyond. So I encourage you to check out those materials in advance of that meeting and come prepared to discuss that with the planning commission on November 26th. And then depending on the outcome of that meeting, it most likely will venture its way to the town council level. But I'm just trying to paint a picture for you.
Yep.
There'll be several more forums to talk through this and give your thoughts.
Okay. Well, I just, that's what practice.
Yeah, you don't need to say tonight. We won't rediscuss this later tonight.
Okay. Thank
Next
you, guys.
discussion will be planning.
Thank you. Okay.
Thanks for coming up, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
Have a good practice.
All right, anybody else? For comment? All right, if not, we have 3 public request presentations tonight. First off, we have, I'm happy to introduce our new building inspector, or let Preston do that. Jordan Batchelor, welcome.
That was pretty much it. The one, the only Jordan Batchelor. He's our new building inspector, and we are, I mean, I think I can speak on everyone's behalf. We're thrilled to have Jordan in that role and have some overlap with Mike Gill before Mike retires in March. So Jordan, you want to say anything? You don't have to.
Not really. I think I know most of you guys, but if not, Jordan Batchelder, thank you guys for giving the time with Mike, which is like 4+ months, which I think is very, very valuable. So thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah, I would like to see you do it. So that's awesome.
Happy to have it. Absolutely. Okay. So that takes us to item number 7, presentation of annual report from the Ridgway Community Garden. Chris.
Okay, Preston, how does this go? Do you control the slide?
Just tell me what to do.
All right, here we are in our 5th year, believe it or not. It's kind of crazy. So I'm the current president of the board. Hopefully that's going to change next year. and it will become Douglas Unfug, and I'll step back into the vice presidency. So Agnieszka should be here, but she's not, so I'm in her place. So our mission has not changed to provide infrastructure resources. We think we're doing that really well. You'll see later on in the presentation that we built in a shed extension this year, which was very much needed. And we're still growing in this camaraderie, learning and sharing, and trying to really bring in the rest of the community and still figuring that out. But it feels really good within just the body of the membership alone. So here's our board of directors. You know, other community gardens that I communicate with mostly in Colorado are always saying to us, especially when they walk in, how in the world is it so clean and neat and productive? And it's because of these people. It's because of this all volunteer board that really puts their noses to the grindstone. We meet every month, even throughout the winter. They're all really active. We did lose Amy Cordry this year as our secretary. She was with us for 5 years. But then in stepped Jill McCord. She's been fantastic, keeping us all on board with her secretarial skills. We also lost Judy Chamberlain as our treasurer, but then she stepped in as member at large, which is fantastic because she's been with us from the beginning. So she brings this great body of knowledge about gardening and our organizational structure. And then we also gained Lisa Erickson as our outreach coordinator. So she controls our website and communicates with people who are giving to us and we're giving to them. So they're all such great people. Yeah, go ahead. So here's the website that Lisa is working on. And this is where our gardeners go. First thing in the early winter, actually in January, like as of January 15th, we'll announce to them through the website and email that applications are ready and they can go to this site and pay electronically or they can pay through snail mail. And then they have these things like save the dates and others. Preston, go ahead and advance us one more, because this is one of the things that we're trying to get our gardeners to pay more attention to is opening and closing dates and, you know, social events that we're going to have. And then we even instruct them, like I have a YouTube channel, believe it or not, for the community garden. And our gardeners can go there and watch how to learn how to garden better.
I used to too.
Yay, Terry. So Sukosh and I, for instance, under Do You Know, did this presentation at KBNF this year in Paonia, where we were interviewed for an hour by those wonderful folks down there. And so we were able to spread the news about our community garden into other places within Colorado. So that was really fun. And then Val Schwark has set up a fantastic weather station for us. All right. So success this year, here's our subsequent years and how we've changed in 2024 with the number of adults and children and our renewal rate. We've lost quite a few people this year, like 6 or 7 gardeners, people who could not afford to live in the town of Ridgway, moved away because they couldn't afford rent and they couldn't buy a house. So they actually left our community, but we did quickly fill those spaces. So in 2024, the 54 is the number of beds that we still have, which we hope to grow next year. So the 51 is what we rented, with 3 that have become sort of our permaculture bed sharing things. So here's Jared and his son Michael on the right. He started a rhubarb bed, then he started a raspberry bed. Then we give the strawberry bed to the Voyager kids. So they come every Wednesday and they learn how to fertilize and water and grow strawberries and learn something about gardening and community, right? And then our partnerships, which continue to be strong. A really important one with the food pantry, where we collect extra produce starting in June and going through the rest of the season and physically bring that to the food pantry. And then that food is distributed to those members. And then our WIC connection, our women, infants, and children via Amy Erickson, who brings very coolly 2 families into the garden and shows them how to garden organically and how to come together as a family within this community. And then the partnership continues with Voyager, mostly through Agnieszka's wonderful work. She did these 3 things this year with the garden tour harvest. And then Taco Del Nar's Chef Joe. And I guess they gathered a bunch of food and then they actually prepared it. And there's the strawberry bed, play and learn. So we're going to continue to give that strawberry bed to them every year so that they can keep coming in and watching that grow. And then this is really cool. Do you guys know about this seed bank at our little library? It's actually been here for 10 years now. This is a place where you can go and get free seed. And we've been involved with this now for 3 years via Carol Harold and Amy Bear. So Carol and the community garden reach out to seed companies around the United States, ask for free seed. They send it to us. And then her little minions in the library sort them, package them up, and distribute them to the community. So then, go ahead, Preston, every spring, we have a Seed Up Saturday. This happens across the United States. So we're participating in this too. So here's some of our gardeners picking out free seed that they're going to grow in the garden this year. And then we even continue that in the fall. So for instance, this year we got Yvette Henson to connect to the library and she taught how to save your own seed in the fall. So the circle is continuing. And Yvette had the maximum amount of students at 22 for that class, right? And then I taught a class this past early spring that was also filled with 30 students. It was pretty chaotic in the library, but it was really fun. We were trying to teach them what to grow in the spring, in the summer, and the fall, and how that changes. So that was great. Go ahead, sir. All right. This was one of our greatest successes this year. In 2023, Agnieszka set up this Garden Stewards program. And we started communicating with people who just stopped by the garden. And we would say to them, would you like to become a garden steward? That means you give us your free time and expertise. So we got these 3 fabulous people, you might know them, Amy Countryman and Nancy and Wally Hall. And they, especially Nancy and Wally Hall, they came in the entire growing season. Wally completely rebuilt our compost bins, paid for all of the construction materials, did it himself. And then the 3 of them came in and produced compost for all of the gardeners all season long. Right, go ahead. So, you know, you might not think it's a big deal, but if you're a gardener, you know that this is the magic. Gardeners come to us and they'll say, especially the new ones, how is it that I can grow such incredible food here? I can't even eat it all. What am I going to do with all of it? And it's because of the compost that we make all season long. Look at that. That's Julia. That's Agnieszka's daughter. And that lettuce is as big as she is. And that one with Frank too. So we get pretty excited about that, right? So neighbors continue to help. And town. So Doug got Lance Sullins from Alpine Excavation to come over to the garden for free with his heavy equipment and scrape a place for the new shed extension. And then he had to have holes dug for the sonotubes. And that's what Lance and his worker did. And then of course the town of Ridgway They're always saving us. They send over Jeff Rivera, and he actually does the scraping. And then he actually brings over gravel for us and gets the pad all ready for the shed extension. So we are especially here to thank you for all of your help that you're always giving us. All right. So here it is, almost done. There's our old shed, which we grew out of. We couldn't walk into it anymore because we had so much equipment. Yay. So thanks to Doug Unfug and the gentleman Dennis Barber that he got to help build the extension. It's almost done. Right? So this is what we're going to continue to do this year. This is another neighbor helping. Ralph Tingy comes in. Last year, he built high beds for people who can't get on the ground anymore. Then he comes in again this year, and for free, he gives us his time and his supplies, and he builds the children a blackboard for their play place. And he just does it because he loves us. All right, Preston. So this is what we're going to continue to do into the coming years, thanks to the town giving us this piece of property to use. We're going to have the youngsters, and we're going to have the oldsters, and we're going to have community, and we're going to eat together and have fun together, and we're all going to grow old together and grow organic food.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Very good. Thanks, Chris. I just wanted to say that one of the notes you made in your letter, your introductory letter, I got a kick out of. Held 4 educational bedside chats with the I love that. And I've known Yvette for a long time. She's awesome. So good work. Good work. Anybody have questions for Chris?
Keep up the good work. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Let us know how we can continue to help. I know it's hard. Sorry to hear that people are having to give up their plots because they can't afford to stay anymore. It's heartbreaking. It's the world we live in right now, I'm afraid. All right, if there are no other questions, either in the room or online, for Chris, or on this topic, we will go to item number 8, presentation of funding requests for the Telluride Foundation's Workforce Home Ownership Initiative. Elaine Dennis.
I'm the third person.
Oh, welcome.
Hi, perfect lead in of the challenges with housing. Hello, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to be with you this evening. And my name is Elaine Demas. I work at the Telluride Foundation, and I am here today to share some exciting news about a great program that we're about to launch in 2025 and explore ways that we might be able to partner on the program. So I'll back up just a minute and give you a little bit of history about how we got here. The Telluride Foundation, as many of you know, has been involved in our housing challenges across the region for quite some time. We're just finishing up the third of our rural homes housing developments. The first one was in Norwood, and then Ridgway, of course, and we're finishing up the one in Ridgway now. We got a few COs recently, and we're starting to close on those units with 9 of them sold. But Rural Homes is possibly going statewide. They're looking at other opportunities outside of our service area, which I should clarify, the Telluride Foundation service area is all of San Miguel County, all of Uribe County, West Montrose County, which is Nuclear Natarita, everything in between there, and the town of Rico in Dolores County to the south. So that's our service area. So Rural Homes is looking at some other projects and possibly going statewide. So they are going to be sort of spun off from the Telluride Foundation at the end of this year. But we still continue to work on housing. And in March of 23, we began a small down payment assistance program that was available across the region. And it's called the Housing Opportunity Fund. It provides down payment assistance in the form of a forgivable loan up to $5,000 to help people close on a house. And many of the folks that bought the Rural Homes Project Wetterhorn here in Ridgway applied, and they qualified and received that money, as a lot of the folks closing in your area are doing the same. So over the course of the last 18 months since we've been running that program, we've been talking to a lot of leadership across the region, and people have asked us to look into ways that we might be able to do more. I mean, $5,000 is great, and it's very helpful, but it's not really moving the needle in terms of providing home ownership for people that otherwise wouldn't be able to do that. So we did a lot of research. We looked at a lot of different municipalities, employers across the state, and we sort of zeroed in on a three-pronged approach to this issue, which is now a two-pronged approach. But I noticed I gave you your packet quite a while ago, and it is marked draft, and things have changed a little bit, but I'll explain. So what was a three-pronged approach was the first, which is still very much a part of this program, is education. So we will be launching quarterly first-time home buyer webinars and workshops to help people navigate the process of buying a home. Things like how do you get your credit score up, why do credit scores matter, what is debt to income, why does that matter, and also talking about all the down payment assistance programs that are available to everyone. Because if you are of 100% AMI or lower, there's actually quite a few other programs available to you that might even be better than what we have to offer. So this first-time homebuyer education is really to educate the person based on where they are. You know, how much money do you have to put down or don't you have, or what is your income, and really help them navigate that process. And we plan on doing that across our service area. The second and third prong, which is now just one, is a more robust down payment assistance program. So what was $5,000 in the form of a forgivable loan will now be up to $100,000, up to 20% of the cost of your home, not to exceed $100,000, in the form of in the form of a shared appreciation loan. So this one's not forgivable, you have to pay it back. But there are no interest, no payments due throughout the life of the loan. The home buyer pays it back when they sell their home or refinance their home, and then they pay the program back, the loan amount plus a pro rata share of the appreciation. So for example, if somebody was buying a home for $500,000 and we awarded them $100,000 down payment assistance loan, and they sold it 5 years later and made $100,000, they would pay us back the money we gave them, and the program would get 20% of their upside. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's a pretty common vehicle in the down payment, the shared appreciation, and the first mortgage lenders really like it because it does not increase the home buyer's monthly nut, so they don't pay anything throughout the life of the loan. Other guidelines in the program, you have to work and live in the Telluride Foundation service area. So across the region that I just mentioned, you have to be at 150% AMI or lower. And in San Miguel County for two people, that's 131. And I need to check my numbers. The numbers in your packet are San Miguel, and I believe in URA it's 122. So it's a little bit lower. But it would be whatever the AMI is in the county that we're offering this program in. The maximum cost of the home price is $850,000. The home has to be deed restricted. If it isn't deed restricted, you can still access these funds if you're willing to put a deed restriction on the home. So it's really available to any property that's $850,000 or less. So I'm here today to tell you about the program because we're very excited about it, and we're really looking forward to deploying some of these funds here in Ridgway and in Uriah County, but also to ask if you would like to participate. The way the program is designed, it's pretty unique and creative in terms of the capital stacking. So no matter where the property is, the foundation is going to fund the first $50,000 of this shared appreciation loan. And then we're asking municipalities, taxing districts to join us if you are interested in raising that to something higher. So for example, over in San Miguel County, the town of Mountain Village and San Miguel County have opted into the program. They've each pitched in $200,000 to the program. So if the property is in the town of Mountain Village, then the loan could go up to $100,000, $50,000 from the Telluride Foundation and $50,000 from the town of Mountain Village. Same thing in San Miguel County. And I'm doing my final pitch to the town of Telluride next week, so we'll see what happens. I'm optimistic that they will also want to participate. So that's the sort of high-level summary of the program. I'm sure there are questions, and I'm happy to answer them as best I can. Hopefully I didn't forget anything.
Do you have any more details since the last time we spoke on what the structure of that deed restriction is going to look like?
Yeah, just as we talked about at the Housing Trust meeting, the deed restriction, the only thing we care about is that the person lives in the house and that they make their living in the area and that their AMI is within the guidelines. That's all we care about. In the town of Telluride, for example, their deed restriction is much tighter than that. There's appreciation caps and so on. That doesn't concern us at all. So we would, I guess, deploy the deed restriction in the jurisdiction that the home was in. So if it's in the town of Ridgway, I'm not sure what your deed restriction is. I've been talking to Andrea. I know you guys are trying to figure out how to enforce your deed restriction and all that, but whatever the deed restriction is, if the property was in the town of Ridgway, that would be the deed restriction that would be put on the home.
The 200,000 that you're requesting, it says over a 2-year pilot. You're requesting 200,000 in 2025 or over the next 2 years.
Over the next 2 years.
And so that money, in addition to the 50,000 that you're going to put in, could be split. It wouldn't necessarily mean that that you would use it for an additional 50 up to 100. It could be split over more than the 2 homes that might be affected.
Exactly. So the other really unique thing about this is under one program, I did forget to mention that an organization, they're a CDFI, they're very experienced in this kind of work, the Impact Development Fund. They are going to be qualifying the home buyers, underwriting loans, carrying the loans on their balance sheet. They are in essence the bank for us. And they've set up a structure such that if the town of Ridgway would like to participate in this and add $10,000 to our 50, we can do that.
So for example, if it was 100 over 2 years, so 101 year, if there was that divided by 5, it'd be 20,000 on top of your 50, it could be 70,000.
That's correct.
It would affect 5 homeowners.
Yeah, we can choose how much.
That's correct. You do have to set it and stick with it because every time we change something, it's another program to them and it just gets very complicated. But once you decided what you wanted to contribute and how you wanted to structure it, yes, we can do that.
Could people pay off that initial loan over time if they wanted to?
Yes.
Does it have to be? Well,
There's no prepayment penalty.
Do they still have to pay the 20% at the back end though?
No,
If they prepay it?
no,
So there is incentive.
there is an incentive. There's actually, we're trying to come up with a very meaningful incentive so that it encourages people to pay it off early. And we're still working out those details, something like between the day of the loan and 3 years. Let's say if you pay it off in that amount of time, you won't share any appreciation with us. We haven't quite figured that all out in terms of how we legally do that. But yes, we are working on incentives because we want the money to come back in so we can roll it back out. And obviously this is a long play. The average homeowner in the state of Colorado stays in their home for 8 years, but somebody could keep this loan for 30. We don't know.
Right.
So for the first, and the reason why it's a 2-year pilot, honestly, is that's what the Tire Foundation Board agreed to so that we could have a proof of concept. This is working. This is how many people we were able to help. This is how many people were able to stay in the community. And then we just keep fundraising.
so I have two thoughts. Number one is this starts to hit a group of people we haven't been able to help. And so as we think about spending some of the funds that our voters approved, some of them I would love to see go towards this program, whether we can hit, some of the proposed numbers you said, that's a different discussion. But as we talk about some of these payoff incentives, one of my inclinations is the home should stay deed restricted with the appreciation. Like there should be some sort of appreciation cap because the flip side of this is we help you, but then we protect some further homes. They're not going to be way on the low end or affordable end, but we are protecting them from skyrocketing costs. And that's something we'd have to toy with and think all the way through. And that might hurt your incentives. I don't know.
Well,
Which is all part of how we would have to think through how those things mesh together.
Yeah, I can tell you that, the town of Telluride,
Mhm.
they're, reviewing, you know, and they're gonna let me know next week what they're gonna decide to do, but they have been very clear. Every deed restricted property within the town borders of the town of Telluride has an appreciation cap on it. And they will only allow us to use their funds when there's an appreciation cap on it. Once you get outside of the town limits, it's all over the map. Some of them have appreciation caps, some of them don't. And we don't have the capability to enforce any tighter deed restriction that's already being enforced.
Right.
So if that's something that the town wanted to do, all the affordable housing in the town of Ridgway is gonna have an appreciation cap. That's kind of a separate thing. We would honor that, of course, if that's what you wanna do, but that's really up to you.
Other comments, questions? It's a really,
It's a neat program.
it's really good program. I think we need to do some head scratching and sit down, budget time's the perfect time to do it next time. Talk about what we think we can afford to contribute and how we want it to work.
And
I
just,
guess is we'd like to be part of the program.
just so we're clear, for a family of four, we're talking about being able to help if it's 150% of AMI on 2024 numbers, that's 153,000. So that's a much.
Yeah.
That's great. It's kind of helping like the middle ground. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
The missing this.
Yeah, that's why it was purposely designed that way. There's a lot of programs for 100% AMI and lower, like a lot.
But that
You can
doesn't
get,
help a lot of people
you
here,
can get
yeah.
down payment assistance, you can get a low cost, low interest rate, but once you get over that 120, there's nothing for you. And so I did some research on, you know, what are two teachers make? What does a nurse and a teacher make? And that's how we sort of settled in on the 150.
I like it.
That's exactly what I look at the two people, and if you double my salary, you're right on that, you're right on that line.
There are some sources of funding, like I'm applying for Prop 123 DPA money. It's very competitive. I don't know if we'll get it, but we'll see. That's limited to 120% AMI. So our job at the foundation is to stand the program up, be the convener, gather as many funds as we can. And then when the applications come in, I got to pull the money from the bucket that's appropriate for that particular person, right? If they're at 100% AMI, I've got money from this federal grant. If they're 120, I've got this. But the idea is that we hope to raise a significant amount of money through philanthropy, through the generosity of our donors, and that money can go to 150. And that's the purpose of the program, to serve the missing middle, as you said.
Right.
Very good, thank you.
All right, thank
Thank
you
you.
very much for your
It's
time.
impressive. Thanks. We'll be in touch.
Thanks.
Any other questions from the audience, either in the room or on Zoom about this? Question, I see somebody in the waiting room. Okay, moving along, we have one public hearing tonight. It's item number 9, first reading of an ordinance number 06/2024, approving the annexation of certain real property to be known as Dalwhinnie Ridgway Athletic Park annexation, generally located along the Plan Route 23. Normally, the second reading will be public hearing, but it's fine to do it this way as well. So, Preston, are you doing this, or Angie? Is Angie doing
It's
this?
TJ or maybe Max.
see Max. You doing this, Mac?
Yeah, good evening, Town Council. Yeah, Max with CPS will be presenting item number 9. Just give me a moment. Give me a moment to share my. Okay. Good evening, Town Council. Let's get started with the item number 9, the public hearing, the Dalwhinnie Athletic Park annexation, first reading. Here's the public hearing process. I will give a quick summary of the staff report provided in your packet. We'll go from there. Some quick background for this project. It is owned by the Dalwhinnie Group. There's a portion of the project that is also owned by the town of Ridgway. The applicant representing this project is Chris Hawkins with the Alpine Planning Group. The property size is, as shown in the figure 1, is approximately 3.53 acres. And the annexation map, as shown in your staff, as shown in the staff report, shows that the annexed area will be proposed to be divided into 3 parcels. As mentioned, the request is to annex those 3.53 acres specifically. The portion on the west side of the subject area is the southern portion of the preserved PUD, a residential development. And the parcel C, as you see on this map, is the area that's owned by the town, and is an extension of the athletic park. To clarify, this is the first reading, and a second reading of this request will occur at the December 11th Town Council meeting. A quick background on the annexation process. It starts with a submittal of the petition and the supplemental materials as part of that application. They were deemed complete. The next step of that, Town Council approved a resolution in September that set the public hearing for tonight. And previously, Planning Commission has recommended approval of the initial zoning request in their October 29th meeting, and that will come before Town Council on the second reading of this application. The annexation has to comply with the Colorado state statutes and as well as follow the procedure that's outlined in the Ridgway Municipal Code. The annexation process, as required by the statutes, and the town has a little flexibility, but I will state that in compliance with the state statutes, the petition did establish substantial compliance and provided all of the eligibility requirements as part of the initial substantial compliance hearing. And they also established those dates. And as mentioned, the Ridgway Municipal Code is aligned with the state statute requirements and just provides more details on that procedure. A quick analysis of the annexation request. One of the requirements is typically an impact report. Due to the size of this property, it is not required by state statute. However, it does require a waiver from the Ridgway Board of County Commissioners, and that waiver was approved at their regular November 6th meeting. A copy of that waiver is in your packet. As part of this analysis, land use was reviewed for compliance with the Ridgway Municipal Code. It's important to note that this property was added into the urban growth management area and the future land use map earlier this year. The project supplemental materials provides master plan policies and how the annexation complies with what the Ridgway master plan includes. Examples of how it complies with the master plan within the staff report. As part of the annexation, I mentioned earlier that the application does meet all of the eligibility requirements. There are 3 specifically. That's just that a minimum of 50% of the property owners have to shall petition for that property to be annexed. The second one is that the subject property has to have a minimum of 1/6 contiguity with the current town limits, and that there is and the third being that there is a community of interest for the town. As I previously mentioned, this annexation request does comply with all the eligibility requirements as required by the state. The application and all necessary materials and fees were submitted to the town. The public, there have been no public comments as of this presentation. To our knowledge, per state statute, the notice of this hearing was posted in the newspaper on those 4 dates you see before you, and referrals were provided to the county as well as the special district by certified mail. A copy of those certified mailings and their receipts are also provided in your packet. And finally, staff has provided a recommendation. Upon review of the application, staff recommends that the town of Ridgway Town Council approve the annexation on first reading. The motion is provided in front of you. Additionally, there are alternative motions. You can vote to deny the annexation or approve the annexation on first reading with conditions. We are available to answer any questions you have regarding this application, and I appreciate your time. And
Thanks, Max. Really appreciate it. I think that motion should be I move to introduce ordinance number 2024-06, either with conditions or not. Or deny for that matter, but that's just a technicality. This is a public hearing, so first off, I will give council an opportunity to ask staff. Max, any questions? We've been working on this for a while. I think we're all pretty aware it's essentially some cleanup and also allows the preserve property to have their station installed slightly out of the previous town boundary. Any questions or comments? No questions. All right, so I will now open it up to public comment. Anyone either here in the room or actually, I'm sorry, first off, we'll give the applicant an opportunity to add anything if you want.
No, thank you.
Okay, all good. Then I will open up public comment. Anyone either in the room or on Zoom have anything they want to ask or say about this? All right, seeing none, I will close public comment, bring it back up here for deliberation. Straightforward.
Yeah, we've done all the things we've asked.
I move,
So, go ahead.
go ahead.
Yeah.
We had a question.
Introduce ordinance number 2024-06, the ordinance in town Ridgway, Colorado, approving the annexation of certain real property to be known as Dalwhinnie Ridgway Athletic Park. Annexation generally located along County Road 23 on the first reading.
Second.
All right, motion by Russ, seconded by Beth, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, pass that unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys. Thanks, guys. See you next month.
See you next time.
All right, that takes us to item number, this is a policy matter. Item number 10, review and action on order extending the declaration of local disaster in and for the town of Ridgway related to the creek diversion. This is deja vu all over again. Preston?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So, yeah, this is the same as it ever was. This is an order. It's extending the local disaster declaration to next month's meeting. For an update, we're in the process of reviewing the loan report that the folks from the CWCB produced about a week or a couple weeks ago. CWCB staff is going to recommend that the CWCB board approve the loan request of $8 million at their November 20th and 21st board meeting. And then the aim is to close on that loan in December. We're also in the process of reviewing the statement of work that will be attached to our agreement with the Natural Resources Conservation Service. So that's they're estimating the total project budget at something more realistic, something like 4.3 based on their damage assessment report. As a reminder, the NRCS reimburses up to 75% of eligible construction costs. And then beyond that, we had a meeting just recently with the Office of Grants Management with DHSEM, that's Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, to start moving forward on identifying the mechanics of the funding that's going to be coming from the state's disaster emergency fund. And all three, I just talked about 3 different funding avenues. We're all trying to figure out how they can work together and not separately, because it sounds very daunting to have to administer the 3 of them separately, and they recognize that. And so it's nice that they're trying to figure out how we can make it a little more seamless. So those are the updates. Again, the aim is to close on that CWCB loan this year. That's pretty critical, and then we'll be able to actually fairly soon. Joanne and I need to talk through putting out the engineering design for the recommended alternative for the intake structure out to bid, but we can't incur any costs before we get under contract with the NRCS. So a lot of moving parts. That's the update. And I think, as Bo has advised, we'll continue this month to month, but, that's where we're at.
Thank you. Any questions for Preston on this?
No question, but gosh, I hope they're able to work together to make a little less heavy work for you guys.
And get it done before the end of the year, that's the key. Get it closed. Any comments or question in the audience, either on Zoom or in the room? Okay.
I'll move to approve extending the declaration of local disaster in for the town of Ridgway, still another month.
Second.
All right, motion by Russ, second by Polly, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously, thank you. Takes us to item number 11, review and action on First Amendment subdivision improvements agreement, Vista Park Commons, Paul.
Thank you, Mayor. So included in the packet is a draft document, which is a First Amendment to the existing subdivision improvement agreement between the town of Ridgway and Vista Park Commons. This came about as a request from the development group, as the developer has made progress with respect to installation of certain infrastructure as required by the initial SIA. They've requested that the amount of the irrevocable letter of credit be lowered to reflect the actual infrastructure that has been inputted. So Preston and I had an opportunity to confer with the development team and their legal counsel. And Joyce went and did the town engineer did a site visit of the property to inspect the infrastructure, and we're recommending, based on the request, that the irrevocable letter of credit amount be decreased to $153,900, and that is reflected in this First Amendment to the SIA.
Decreased from how much?
Did you hear that? Decrease from how much?
214 something or 215 something, but you have.
Yeah, I think it was just under 215,000.
Yeah, I was thinking that in our packet, there's an exhibit A, a second page, but it's blank, so I don't know if that was third page, I don't know if it was meant to.
Oh, I didn't put the right
Accounting is
exhibit
that.
in there, but yeah, I see the account.
That's what I'm wondering, yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So yeah, I think we were gonna follow up with Joyce to get the finalized exhibit in terms of the work, which is complete. But at this point in time, staff is comfortable with lowering the request, but still having the irrevocable letter of credit in place for the protection, so that all of the required improvements would be complete by February of 2025.
Great, thank you. Any questions for all or staff on this? Seems pretty straightforward. Yeah. Any questions in the audience? All right, so motion.
Move to approve the First Amendment subdivision improvement agreement, Vista Park Commons.
Second.
Motion by Russ, second by Josie. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Takes us to item number 12, review and action on intergovernmental agreement for building inspection services between the town of Ridgway and Murray counties. Question.
Sir, thank you. Before you use an IGA between the town and the county, the county recently lost their building inspector, and so they're requesting assistance with building inspection specifically on a temporary basis from the town. And as long as you all concur, we're feeling at the staff level that we're able to provide up to about 10 hours of assistance per week for a period of time with building inspection services specifically until the county can figure out the path ahead.
And the county just reimburses us for that.
Yeah, there's an amount in there that includes.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
It's staff.
How does this burden our new building inspector? Is it within his capacity?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. You know, we have Jordan on staff now, which is awesome. And some overlap for several months. And I think the capacity certainly is there. And I think it's a great additional learning opportunity to, you know, different code, actually not that different, but you know what I mean? We'll have to inspect according to county regulations and their version of the IECC or not, or IRC, IBC stuff, so.
No, they
Well,
get
I'm just making
Jordan-
sure of it.
No, that gets Jordan out on more inspections.
Yes, I'd like to ask
That
questions,
makes a
yeah.
lot of sense, actually.
Great,
And it's ideal that Mike's still on to overlap this time period too.
right.
How many months of overlap were there? In the current
See more.
Four.
There's a countdown clock in Mike's office.
It's like 4 months, it's like 4 months.
4 months.
March 13th when you retire.
It's literally 4 months from today.
Is there any expected date associated with the county hiring?
They're advertising right now.
Yes, and you know, it's not.
This turn goes to June.
It's not an easy landscape for that field. Who knows?
The term of this term expires June 30th. So that's the longest we're on for this agreement. Number 5. Under agreement.
So any other questions from council for staff?
I think if staff feels they can do it. I think it's a great opportunity, learning, like you said.
And then we can keep our good relationship with the county. Right? All I heard was Mike say he didn't.
Mike's also retiring.
Short term, short term. All right, any questions in the audience on this one? All right, what's the motion?
I have so moved. Or I move that we approve the intergovernmental.
So moved.
Okay.
All right, motion by Josie, second by Russ, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This is unanimous, thank you. That takes us to item number 13, Pam is up, presentation of draft 2025 fiscal year budget, 5 and 10 for capital improvement plans. Just continuing our march through our December meeting where we'll adopt the budget. And of course, our workshop at the end of this month, towards the end of this month as well. Pam, take it away.
Okay, thank you. In front of you are a number of documents. These are the same documents we've been working with through our process. The budget itself, all 3 funds, general fund, water fund, and sewer fund. The capital improvement projects, 5-year and 10-year, and a working document that I use in my office that shows within each line item where those monies are contained. The budget itself has some items that have yellow in the areas. I just wanted to hit on those quickly. The property tax line item, which is on the first page on revenues, we will still be getting a certification evaluation from the county assessor at the end of the month, so that number may change when we set our mill levy. It won't be much, but I put that in there as our current, where our current number is. We have some things in here that are yellow that I now have numbers on, which are items that will be part of the MOU that we do annually with Ridgway County. And I have received those amounts. They are just estimated in here, but I hit them really close, so. The other yellowed line items should all be things that are tied into the 5-year capital improvement project. So I have everything that's on the 5-year that's in yellow, I have embedded into the budget. So those numbers are in there because I wanted us to be able to see what our ending fund balance was. A couple of things I wanted to point out as I was working with the budget. was oh, the council initiatives. I don't have those numbers broken out by what's being recommended, so I plugged in the full dollar amount that the council had allocated for those. So that number's in there so that that ending fund balance would be accurate.
I had somebody reach out to me today, asking why Uncompahgre Volunteer Level Aid had 92,200 under their line item. I explained that was just a place it's just a placeholder. Seemed a little.
Speak for legally for that line.
Yeah, we do like Uncompahgre Volunteer legally, but they don't usually get that.
But we don't like anyone else, just.
Except for other countries. No, I explained to her, it was just a storm project.
So if, I guess at this point, it would be helpful for us to know if we could look at the 5-year capital improvement projects, the proposed items. If these all look good to council, like I said, they're already embedded in here, that of course they can be moved or modified in any way. But that's the first step that would help me. And also, just so you know, as I go through the process, I'm changing things here and there in the budget, small things, but things happen. Like we just had a major repair on a vehicle, so I'm gonna be increasing the line item a little bit, but I also had some revenues come in that I didn't expect, so. So when you see this again on the 21st, these numbers will have changed in that way.
I should point out that you have the Region 10.
I haven't heard from them. Have you?
It's gonna go up, yeah, I don't know if you're aware, but I'm the chair of the executive board now. And we've been talking about revisiting the fee structure for that.
Okay.
And it's gonna go up, it's not gonna go up significantly. It hasn't been, it'll probably be voted on this month.
Okay, close, we're.
Yeah, I think it's close.
Okay.
I don't think it's good.
If I wanted to add an item in the 5-year capital improvement plan budget for consideration, is that something I could do here now or at the workshop?
I would hope you would do it now.
Yeah, bring it up, because we need to.
All right, I discussed this with Preston, he suggested I do just that. So the issue is the pickleball folks have recognized that they are creating significant wear and tear on the tennis courts. They play pickleball generally 3 to 4 times a week. There's as many as 20 to 30 people playing each time, which under normal circumstances, there's only a maximum of about 8 people that would play tennis at any given time. There's 30 plus people on those courts. So they recognize that they're creating, accelerated wear and tear. And so the line item would be for the town to consider resurfacing the tennis court and possibly the basketball court, and the pickleball club is willing to contribute towards that effort. So the line item, I think Preston did a quick Google search on what it might cost to resurface a tennis court of that size, and somewhere in the neighborhood of $30,000 to $40,000. So my ask would be that we consider adding a line item in that general amount, and then depending upon council or staff discretion, they could approach the pickleball club for some contribution to assist in payment.
There's not a known amount at this point?
It hasn't been thoroughly vetted, but I would, for purposes of a placeholder, I would put $35,000 in this.
No, I mean the contribution.
Oh, they're willing to entertain whatever is needed. So they have a budget that they're working to raise money for permanent pickleball courts, and they have operating funds, and maybe Clark can speak to this more specifically. We didn't discuss a specific number because we weren't sure what would be requested from the town.
Have we had complaints from tennis players about the current status of the tennis courts since we're adding this, getting fairly deep into the budget process?
Not to my knowledge, it's just
No,
there's a
we haven't heard anything from us.
accelerated.
I understand. I'm just kind of trying to weigh all of what timeline this actually needs to happen in. Is it also resurfacing the basketball courts, would that be changing the surface from a surface amenable?
Making it, better for basketball, but more of a sport surface rather than just a raw concrete, which it is now. So it'd be bringing it up to a higher standard essentially, which it wouldn't conflict with basketball, it would actually improve the surface, make it easier to play on. Right now, from my personal experience, when you do anything on that concrete surface, it hurts your knees because there's no surface treatment to it whatsoever. It's just raw concrete, shoes stick to it. So anyway, the ask is to add a budget line item into the CIP that could be filled into the 2025 budget and offset that pickleball club is willing to contribute towards that. That's all I have.
Yeah, and it is the 5-year CIP, so doesn't necessarily mean it has to happen next year.
Right.
Put it in the CIP.
Or definitely put it in the 5-year CIP and then we get more discussion between now and next Thursday about what the cost would be, how much pickleball we want to contribute, that kind of thing.
I think one of the things we have to think about is that we have put forth a lot of works plans. We're gonna get, we talked about all of these different pieces that need to happen. And again, we need to make sure we're spreading that out around multiple user groups.
I would add, the pickleball club is probably the largest club in the town and is a heavy user of the public facility.
And I understand that, but one of the things that's hard to quantify are children. They don't form clubs that we then respond to.
We have soccer clubs and baseball clubs.
But we also talked about replacing equipment in Hartwell Park. Like there are multiple things that need to be weighed. And I would like to see it more in the context of budget, maybe a more solid number.
Yeah, I would suggest that we added just for placeholder 35,000 in the 5-year CIP, and then ask maybe through you, Terry, or through Clark, ask the pickleball club what they can afford to contribute. The more they can contribute, the sooner it can happen. And I'm sure one of the reasons this came up is because you guys are probably starting to notice the wear and tear. Starting to see it worn out. And so, I mean, I would agree that it needs doing, and I think there's certainly benefit in putting more of a sports surface on the basketball court, but the issue, as always, is where we come up with money. So,
Yeah.
Let's start with adding it to the 5-year CIP and then seeing what pickleball, and imagine, and you guys can go back and discuss it with your board or whatever, and then get back to us and see what we can do. It might very well not happen next year.
Was resurfacing either of those courts part of the master plan that we put together for the whole? Not that I recall.
I don't think so. It's a regular, it's a normal maintenance thing for tennis courts, so I don't know where that item lives in the town budget.
I'll have to go look, but I think towards like the very end of the cycle, there was some attention being paid to some of those
like phase 5 or
existing,
something, yeah.
existing things. So yeah, that's a really good point, but I do think it
Still have
was,
potential positive down the road that this might provide a new surface for the existing tennis courts and basketball courts when the pickleball complex is built.
I think it's,
a few
yeah,
years down the road.
I'd have to go find it. but-
Okay.
Just something.
Can I go?
Yeah. What
Can I
else you
take a
got?
left turn?
Yeah, I'll make it right here.
Can I go right? Can I turn? But either way I'm turning. I'm just wondering if there's any appetite on council for adding either more monies to like the Fuse Arts community, or adding more monies for Decker Room personnel, and also an administrative assistant for Preston.
I don't.
So can I address that?
Yeah.
The administrative assistant is in the budget. We have done this. So that's included in the administrative wages line item. We have increased the staffing at the Decker Room. That is already in the budget. I'm sorry, your other thing was Fuse Committee?
Fuse or Decker Room.
And they do have Okay, there's two line items. There's a line item for Fuse Committee. That's on page 3. That's, in there, there's next year at 60,000. And then the Decker room itself has a line item, which is on page 6 under facilities.
I did.
And, that is in there at 137,500.
Thank you. I looked for them, but I almost.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah, if I could,
I should've-
just for context, Molly, you sit down with all the departments, you all know that, but that includes Tara. And talking through the work plan or the projected work plan for Fuse and REL is the Decker Room Coordinator for 2025. Worked through some of those expenditures and projects and needs, specifically in the Decker Room, but based on the Fuse work plan for 2025. So those are the line items that Pam's pointing you towards. So that's part of that, those relatively early on meetings.
Excellent. Thank you. I just had heard from a couple of people that like there was a need and I just wanted to make sure.
Well, and along those lines, the film festival, Ridgway Independent Film Festival, which is this weekend, by the way, so please get your tickets and come next 4 days. That's under item 532 group 2. That's just part of the use committee.
Yes, and then the receipts are in the revenues under 459. On the revenue page 1.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's gonna go up significantly this year because of the film festival actually selling passes, and I think we're up over 5,000 just in passes for the film fest. That's as of right now. There's some concern on the volunteer level that money doesn't just go into the general fund to be spent however they'd like to have some of that come back to for next year. So it's just something else to put a pin in.
And then another left turn, because I'm the liaison for chamber. I did bring up to them after our first budget meeting, the questions about moving forward with building an actual, visitor center. That's something they've been meeting about and discussing. So hoping someone to be here tonight. I know they're definitely planning on coming or contacting Preston about the next budget meeting next Thursday. Because that is something they're definitely interested in moving forward with, and they had been re-looking at, the proposal that had been sent over to them last year about it all. But they are interested, just in terms of capital improvement projects for the town. They are interested in moving forward with that and getting a building built that will sort of be a better entrance to Ridgway and a more usable space for the chamber and for advertising and all the things.
Okay, good to know. Anything else?
I think Jake has this, I don't think Jake has his hand raised.
Yeah, go ahead, Jake. Yes.
Am I being recognized? I didn't quite hear.
Yeah, sorry, yes, go ahead.
Okay. This was something that I'd hoped to bring up through the Sustainability Advisory Board. However, I've been unable to attend their meetings since they're not posted ahead of time and they seem to bounce around a bunch. So wanted to just bring this up here because it's been a topic of discussion for a number of years, is at the Ridgway concert series handling the cup situation. The town has gone back and forth between different styles of cups. There was a year, I don't think it was this year, but the year before, they contracted with Dirty Sturdies to actually staff those stations so that they were doing compost recycling and trash sorting. And just wanted to remind the town that would have some budgetary implication, and that hopefully the town would choose to allocate some money to go with compostable cups and to hire a service provider to provide that compost recycling and trash sorting as they did, I think, in 2023. Thanks.
And that brings up the kind of strategic question that I discussed at our budget retreat of developing a zero waste plan for our events, but then that would be something we could turn to community groups hosting events in our parks and let them use as a blueprint. as we move forward. I think that's an excellent idea. Kind of similarly, strategic plan wise, I know we've been doing like the Hey Ridgway ads in the paper. And a centralized space where people could find out about how to get involved, even if that's just a spot on our front page of our website. You know, when we're putting together ad hoc committees for art, or we're doing surveys, or
Opportunity, or people.
planning commission, like
feedback people who don't.
from-
want to be on that.
yeah, and so like, you know, we're gonna be having council elections in the spring. And so just a centralized place where we're not talking about day-to-day agenda items, but hey, we are looking for Ridgway residents to get involved with their community in this way. And there's a whole range of ways that looks. Because sometimes I think, you know, people don't know, but if it existed in a single place, you're like, hey, how do I get involved? Like, that's where you need to be looking. It's a good idea. And I know we publish them on Facebook and all of those opportunities, but if we're really intentional about listing those opportunities for involvement, then we'll also be intentional about sharing them in print or on
Right, so
social
people
media.
ask me, well, how did they decide the mural on the wall? Like, who got to be on the committee to decide that? How do they pick the committee members? It'd be nice if we could say, yeah, there's a place on our website where you can sign up to be notified that we're looking for committee members on issue A, B, C, and X, Y, Z, because right now, I didn't really know how to answer that question. And
You know, and I look at that list and I, you know, explain to people, like, if you look at the people on the list, we're talking about art and we can't pick art by, you know, community consensus, that would be a disaster.
oh, no,
That's
but
what-
people who say they would have liked to serve on the
Yeah.
committee, and it's like, it'd be nice if there's one place for them to say, hey, this is how you sign up to be on committees.
Yep.
And put your time where your mouth is, so. You know.
Anything else on the capital improvement plans? Additions or?
Yeah, just making sure there's something on there for 5-year plan for the chamber building.
Heritage Park construction documents are on here.
That's Heritage Park, is that?
That's
that-
her-
Yes, that is.
Oh, yeah, that's what it's called. I knew that. Man, that. Forget the name of it. I was thinking Carnival Park, remember?
The implementation is on the 10-year, but when we
Yeah.
have construction docs, we make the shift.
So I'm sorry, are you in agreement that you want to include add money into that for this year, or is that an item?
I'm just-
you're gonna-
Yes, it's not in yellow.
Right, it's not in there yet. I don't know, I'm just giving you a heads up that based on their last meeting, they are planning on talking to the council about wanting to move forward with that project and. Yeah, no, I know, right, well, we brought it up at the meeting last month, and I said, I don't know, because I do on the board, so. I don't know if it has to be done next year, but they are on board thinking about
I
it.
think one of the things to think about is we do have $100,000 in the budget for wayfinding implementation. Like we do
That
have,
can be a huge thing.
we
for
do
us,
have
too.
some things. If not the construction documents, there's definitely a thing here. It was in Pam's.
Yeah,
notes.
wayfinding is it.
You know, there's definitely some investment on council's part in terms of tourist understanding and movement within the town.
You just want us.
You don't mind if I jump in real quick?
Go ahead.
I've got, to show you all this. This is Meeker, Colorado.
It's very exciting.
It's Highway 13
It
going
is.
through, State Highway 13 going through.
How do they have that on?
Yeah,
That's
as soon as
weird.
we heard about that. we're like, How did you do that?
I wanted to see if anyone would be interested in something like this
Totally.
as part of that wayfinding.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I talked with John about this, but,
Yep.
Meeker found some sort of, it's not accurate to describe it this way, but I call it like a loop.
That's what I'm thinking.
Which, like this, I don't see my cursor, but this pole here falls outside of the right of way. The pole on this side must fall outside the right of
It's high
way.
enough to go over.
This falls outside the height clearance.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this could, get quite a few birds with one stone.
Totally.
right?
It's worth the cost of 2 poles.
We already have,
It's
we have a
worth
good chunk of
investing
change
more
set
than
aside in
a banner.
the 5-year CIP for wayfinding stuff, but the folks we talked to in Meeker, I didn't talk to anyone specifically, Tara did. I think they said it was somewhere around $60,000 to do something. So,
I like it.
wanted to see if there was buy-in for you know, exploring and trying to do
Yes,
something like that sooner rather than later.
definitely.
True.
Aggressive
Stay
thumbs
tuned
up.
for, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
because I hope it's not just local business owners, which obviously we're hearing a lot of feedback from, but also like where it's says about something about seeing their trails and where the river access is, which way means, I mean, that's very similar to our issues of having things be just a little bit off the main drag, so.
Outlining the right place will be the interesting.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
and this is one of those things though that my hope with something like this is that we turn the fact that our Clinton Street, Main Street not being the highway into an asset, not a liability, when you can direct people that way.
Okay.
So, great, well, we'll mark that down for now, and then I wanted to, just hijack it further, because I wanted to follow up on the short-term rental stuff we talked about at the budget retreat. Sorry, Pam, I'm just gonna go on this real quick, the last slide I have. Decker Technologies is a company that, the county and the city work with. Their, I don't know if it's the right word, but Rentalscape is their system or their platform. So had a few, meetings with them where they kind of walked us through their services. And I don't really know why I set up the slide like this, but the first little box at the top right is the base cost for stuff like address mapping, verification, their outreach, their standard outreach campaign reporting. And then for compliance monitoring, which would be, you know, verifying that folks have active licenses, is something they can do by one of two ways, either paying the additional $5,000 on top of the $5,000 base cost to use their registration portal, or we would just use our system and just have to keep them updated with our lists at a frequency of our choosing. And then the third box down here, which I heard a lot of interest in, and I would be as well, is a public facing portal. It would be like a map with little pins on where all licensed and active short-term rentals are in our town. And it would be made available by a link. We would just make it available somewhere on Earth. Take it to the Rentalscape platform. I don't know if that makes sense for the public. So for all of that, including that middle box number one, that'd be about $15,000 for that first year. If there was any interest in going down that path.
I mean, I think it's cool. I don't think I would be prioritize spending 15,000 on it. I don't know, what does everyone else think? A little strong feeling, right?
I think we've had a lot of interest in that last piece.
Yeah.
I know we can't have without the other piece.
15,000? Like,
Well,
don't
I
know.
think one of the things the second piece of the registration portal is an interest, like, that's a piece that we would need to discuss with staff on, are we saving, you know, are we adding time, or what's working? So the range is 5 to 15, depending on which of these pieces you pick.
10 to 15, because it's
Well-
what we're liking most is the bottom piece.
Well, I know, but again, you're talking about $5,000 value added over the base service. And then, so the question is it worth 10, right? So those are the pieces of discussion.
I think maybe I guess the question is how much staff time would it take to get together a list and a map of that third piece, and is it worth it?
My reading, I don't see where
Looking on the left side.
yeah. So I don't see where this constituent portal is there.
It's not in
It's not in there. And so is that also an annual $5,000? Because I see that the first 5 is.
Yeah, sorry, the stuff on the
That's
left
okay.
is just the base.
Okay.
That's all the stuff you get to the base, $5,000 cost. Good question. Yeah, and the other two are in addition to what you get on the left. So, like I said, I don't know why.
I mean, I like the constituents, we'll find some if it's right.
Paul, to answer your question, I think there'd be a lot of staff time.
Sorry.
Your question was about staff time, right?
Yeah.
On the forefront, it'd be quite a bit to get everything onboarded and where it needs to be. Rob from Decker Technology said that it's kind of heavy lift trying to get everything where it's supposed to be. And then again, into that middle box, I mean, if we were to, it'd be fairly seamless, it seems like, if we opt for their registration portal, and they would get all that information in real time to update the constituent portal. Otherwise, you know, it would take some staff time for us to, I mean, it doesn't seem like a lot to just send them a new spreadsheet every couple weeks.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Feels like macro programmable. Good thoughts. I need to ponder this. Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you think about it and then talk about
I mean,
it.
I think it, you know, it goes without saying that the county and the city of Ridgway are using this service and they would like us to be using it too for consistency. And that again goes towards, you know, working well with their neighbors. So that should be a factor we would consider. But at the same time, I think we need to kind of consider the whole thing. Jake, you got a comment?
Yeah, I wanted to just share the experience that we had at the county. Initially, we signed up for a higher, one of their higher levels of service, and we backed off of that a little bit. I would recommend that Preston or whoever at staff would be dealing with it talks with Dan Hughes at the land use department. He's been the one who's been managing it. We did have some extra work for the initial setup. But then when we did, we hired a third party to evaluate our fees countywide this year. And almost all of our fees went up, but actually the short-term rental administration fee went down because of the efficiencies that staff were able to realize after the initial setup. So I wanted to share that and recommend that you talk with Dan Hughes at the county for his experience.
Thanks, Jake.
Thank you.
Well, I was simply just following up from the last, I guess the last time we met was the retreat. So
Budget
just some
retreat.
follow-up items and
Appreciate it.
back to Pam's show.
So the general fund, as I said, I tried to place everything within the budget, so we have an ending fund balance, and our ending fund balance right now is $3,404,221, which is, as you can see, our adopted budget in 2024 was $3,052,622. So it would be over. So that's a good thing.
Do we also need to discuss potentially that legal line item for the home trust or whatever thing that we just saw the presentation on?
Tell you right foundation.
Or tell the right foundation, you know, I said home
Yeah,
trust,
that would
but
be under the affordable housing. Geo.
There is a line item for affordable housing in the budget.
interesting.
It's on page 3. It's 535 GOO.
Got it.
And I've placed in there 100,000. That is including 2 requests from the home trust. Council didn't, we discussed that. Council didn't say one way or another, but I put that in there is possibly coming out of that line item. Preston would remember that dollar amount.
Well, what, yeah,
But
one
2 requests.
one amount was the home trust operational funding request, which at the budget retreat, I don't remember what the amount requested was, but council all seemed to fixate on agree upon a smaller amount.
Yeah.
It was 42 something.
Yeah,
and then
42.
and then we decided 30.
That's
32.
Sounds about.
32.
What's in here is, what's in
Oh,
here?
I'm
It's-
sorry, I have it on.
Pam's got it in her
I've
doc.
got it.
It jives.
It's 32,000 contribution to the home trust and 40,000 to the joint housing administration. So that, there it goes, the 72,000 over that 100,000 is already expended, if that's what you're choosing.
And maybe you said this, I didn't hear it. What is the anticipated revenue income from the lodging tax this year? Do we have an estimate on that? That was supposed to be dedicated towards affordable housing.
Affordable housing for 2025 is 100,000.
So the 2 are a wash. revenue versus expense here.
I mean, is her estimated year end for 24 is 110. For the Affordable Housing Fund on the first page, the 4071 GO.
Is that what you were asking, Terry, year end for this year?
Well, projected for next year.
Projected for next year.
Whatever would apply towards.
Yeah, her projected for next year.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if they're in phase or not. So is the projected revenue for this year is used to afford the expenses for 2025? Or is it 2025 revenue for 2025 expenses?
Or we pulled them, we're capturing them separately and uses better words than me, but like we're trying to keep track of those revenues separately, because 50% could still go in towards tourism, promotion and marketing stuff. And the other 50% towards affordable housing initiatives, childcare as well. So I think that's what the discrepancy on year end between, it's not a discrepancy, but the difference is because the new rate didn't go into effect till March, right? Yeah.
No, it's because I'm not projecting that we're gonna have the same amount of lodging tax in 2025 as we did this year.
The discrepancy in 2024.
2024 year end.
So the 2025 estimated numbers of 100,000 for lodging tax and for the affordable housing fund out of lodging tax have both been moved into other line items. So the lodging tax is expended out of line item out of line item 529 GOO, that's on page 3. And the lodging tax for affordable housing is expended out of 535 GOO.
Nice. Okay, thanks.
Affordable housing.
Got it.
This is similar to what we do with our refuse collection. We have an income account for that, but it's a straight pass through. So that amount is put into an expenditure line item where it's paid.
Okay, thanks.
So Pam, I think the last question though was about the estimated year-end 2024 lodging tax line items, 407 GU and 4071 GU. They're not equal. Why are they the same?
Because the ballot question did not go into effect for 3 months within this fiscal year.
That's the question.
We talked about that at the
Got it.
budget retreat.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that was clear. Other comments, questions, issues? Anybody in the audience on either Zoom or in the room have questions? Narrowing it down.
General fund, we're going to the water fund. This is a fun one. We have 2 large capital projects coming out of the water fund. One will be the water line replacement. It's coming from the water plant to Moffett Street. It's going to be paid from a loan and a grant. The loan on that actually will become due in 2025. So our first loan payment is placed into the budget. It's on page 10. We have a new debt service line item, 999 WOO. That is the beginning of the repayment on that loan. The Beaver Creek Diversion Project is another capital project. We've just thrown lots of numbers at that, and Preston just gave you an overview of that earlier. And those funds are going to be paid from loans and grants, and hopefully we won't have a lot of town expenditure in that in the end when those things start to wash. But that loan payment will not be due for 3 years. So you won't see that in this year's part of the 2025 fiscal year budget.
And no interest for 3 years. Pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So the water fund really doesn't have anything within it. Within the budget itself, it's mostly those capital projects. And capital projects that are that size, it makes separate sheets that are in the back of the budget. They're called capital project funds. And the water line replacement is on page 16. And the Beaver Creek diversion is on page 18. It's just laying out those numbers as we talked about. The water line replacement project will be a loan from the state revolving fund for $650,000, and then a grant from DOLA of energy impact funds.
Is the town contribution something we've already paid? for
That
this?
was our 2024 budget.
Yeah.
We did not begin the project in 2024.
Uh-huh.
Went out to bid in 2024, but they won't start until the spring.
No, I guess my question was, why is the 50,000 not rolling over to?
Because the project construction costs came in less than what we had anticipated before we went out to bid. And then the Beaver Creek diversion is in there with a whole bunch of numbers that don't make sense, but it was my best attempt to put in the two grant fundings along with the loan. And I created a line item called loan repayment, which would come from the grants to pay down on that loan. It's all a rag, but that's why it has this crazy number of 14 million, because I'm including that 8 million loan.
Gotcha.
So, water fund, their ending fund balance looks healthy at $1,734,430, which is up from the previous year. Sewer fund, again, nothing large within the sewer fund project-wise, except that the removal of the biosolids that Joanne had hoped to happen this year, we're moving into 2025.
I'll let the people at SMPA know.
Okay. And the sewer ending fund balance is coming in almost similar to where it was at the adopted 2024 budget. Part of the sewer fund is moving funds, 100,000, we moved 100,000 last year, and we'll be looking at moving another 100,000 out of the regular holding account into another holding account, which we're creating for plant improvements. Then we have the Ridgway General Improvement District, which is the GID has been around for a long time, and the funds have just been sitting in there because they were taken from funds within that district and have to be expended in there. It was for a paving project, and there has been no need to repave it. Hopefully someday we'll expend those monies, but meanwhile we have to carry them in our budget. The pages on the back, page 14, the ramp project note account. We have not worked that out yet. That's the conversation we had at our retreat about the capital improvement monies that the town designated to pay back the ramp bond. And that is a process that we need to work with once we have those certification evaluation from this county assessor. The Lena Street paving project is in here because there was monies shown in our audit by state statute. We have to keep those numbers in there even if we're not carrying it forward into next year. And then we have our water line replacement and the athletic park master plan, which was done in 2024. The implementation of that was the construction of the parking lot. And then on the last page, we have our Beaver Creek diversion project at a small amount of 14 million.
Just pull out a petty gun, right?
Overall, everything looks good.
Yeah, thanks, Pam. It's looking good, getting there. Almost there, like you say. Anybody have other questions for Pam, comments? Mark? Yeah, of course.
As you can imagine, after Terry introduced that operating budget line item for the court resurfacing, we've had a fairly lively chat going on amongst all the little texters in our group. So the deeper we go into the year, the more money we'll have to contribute to that. So I just wanted to make sure that we've got a mechanism to, if that's in the budget, here's how much money we got, here's how much we can contribute, knowing that the more we can contribute, probably the earlier that's gonna happen. So I just wanted to let you know that let's keep that conversation alive and we'll see if we can get that done.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anything else on this item?
I don't have anything. Does anyone have any questions on the budget document itself? Is there anything confusing in here?
It's really working on it.
Yeah, thanks for all your work on it.
Looking good.
And then next Thursday, as a reminder, is the budget workshop. Go into the budget again, just like Pam has, and go into some more detail. I'll have that fun little PowerPoint I always do that everyone remembers.
So as the new person, are we talking like 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours? Any idea? Was there till it's done?
For how long it takes?
Yeah. Next Thursday night.
Did you say 6 hours?
We've done that up here already. I would murder somebody.
Oh, how long the meeting's gonna take?
Yeah.
It shouldn't take nearly that. One
Well,
of the
that's
things
budget meeting was 6 hours, so let's.
One of the things that will be presented next week is the request for funding for the nonprofits, the recommendations that came out of the committee.
Yeah.
So that'll be presented, and then we will be able to put those line items in instead of making it look like we're giving one organization.
Okay,
Two hours, 2.5 hours max.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I'm excited for that one.
And then after that meeting, I will be preparing the final budget for council adoption at the December meeting. At that time, council will adopt 3 resolutions. One to adopt the budget, which will be attached to that resolution. Another setting the expenditures and revenue amounts for each fund. And then the other will be setting our mill levy for 2025. Then another item that'll be on the budget will be the adoption of the 5-year and 10-year capital improvement project, and another line item will be for the adoption of the strategic plan.
So we'll have a draft of the strategic plan for the budget workshop. We will look through. And another thing, Pam's gonna be out of town for the December 11th meeting, so we can't have any changes.
No, well, we can't have any changes anyways, because I think the resolutions are gonna be set.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what
Well,
I
I
don't
thought
think
you were
I'll
gonna
be-
say Pam won't be here after her 110th budget.
Hey, I
For
learned.
the very first
Like
time, she will
process.
not be at an adopting meeting.
She's probably sad.
Yeah, I'm really sad.
All right.
In Cancun.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be
You'll
so sad.
I know, really sad.
Yeah, we're hosting an umbrella drink to the budget. All right, anything else on this item? That brings us to item number 14, which has my name on it. Councillor Schuyler and I went to the Mountain Towns 2030 Summit in Jackson last month. Long drive each way, but very much worth attending. One of the things they've been asking for is more communities to step up and be a supporting community. And as such, they would ask for a $5,000 contribution. I just thought I'd bring it up as something to talk about since it's budget time. There are some benefits to that. I had intended to reach out to Chris Steinkamp, the director, to find out if there was a possibility for a reduced amount for a small town like Ridgway. We would definitely be the smallest community doing this if we did. But we don't need a thumbs up or thumbs down on this tonight, just something to think about. I urge you to go to the MT 2030 website, check out what they're doing. Check out the summit information there. I can, Terry or I can forward you the all the presentations that were made in Jackson last month. If you're interested, I guess I'll just say, if anybody has any thoughts one way or the other right now, that's fine, but otherwise it's just a kind of FYI.
John, I'd like to add, I do recall when they were soliciting all the communities at the conference for this enrollment, that he did mention that they would consider a lesser amount for smaller communities.
I thought I remembered that too, but I couldn't find it anywhere. So I think we need to reach out to them and ask.
Yeah, and if that was a thing that was brought up and they forgot, I know that's come up at CC for CA as well. Like when we still remain one of the smallest jurisdictions there.
I'd also like to add that Ridgway was well represented. John was the first person to speak in front of the entire audience when he caught the microphone cue. And when he said he was from the mayor of Ridgway, there was fairly significant applause. So I'm not sure why, but
I'm not doing.
yeah. And then I gave a presentation on behalf of Ridgway. So and then in the scrolling banners of some of the key communities, Ridgway would scroll through invisible with a picture of Ridgway. It was Ridgway and Silverton and a few other communities from the San Juan Mountains. And then it was what we called the San Juan Mafia was there. So there was people from Eco Action Partners, Town of Mountain Village, Town of Telluride Foundation, Silverton, Ridgway. So we were well represented for a conference that was a 10-hour drive away from here. So it was very, the keynote speaker was amazing. It was really uplifting. And I encourage, if we do move through with this, that more counselors attend this. It's a pretty uplifting event.
We're hoping next year's summit will be closer, like maybe Crested Butte, but
Yeah, that would make it so it
Yeah.
wasn't a day on either end.
We were in the running for the award of small towns doing big things. We were hopeful we would have gotten the award. Crested Butte got it. They had passed an all electric code. And I think that was the reason they got it, which was pretty aggressive.
and I will say Terry and his team won an award for the project they did in Silverton. What was it called?
Team Gold.
Team Gold.
Collaboration of the Year Award. There was 35 communities that were what's the word, not applied, but nominated, and our little collaboration won, which was San Juan County, Town of Silverton, Eco Action Partners, and SMPA. Remind SMPA, we got little trophies at the end. Pretty cute.
It was very cool. Very cool. So think about that. We can talk more about it on next Thursday. Any comments or questions?
Thanks for going. Thanks for taking the drive.
Yep. Takes us to item number 15, first reading of ordinance number 05/2024, amending subsection 4-1-1 of the Ridgway Municipal Code to add more specific regulations concerning snow and ice removal and establishing an assessment and penalty for failure to maintain sidewalks in the winter. Preston.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So as a result of the discussion and direction that took place at August meeting of the town council, we've drafted the ordinance before you, and it's aimed at exactly what you just read, Mayor, bolstering and adding more specificity to the requirements and responsibilities of property owners related to removing snow and ice from sidewalks flooding their properties. So really a first go based on the direction County heard in August, and really was hoping to get this before you all sooner than this. So my apologies on that, but going on.
Say that.
Last couple of minutes, right?
So happy to answer any questions. Got our pens ready for any modifications you all would like.
Looks like it reflects what we talked about back in the 100 months.
Comments, questions, changes?
I thought it looked pretty good. So I feel like our concern the last time was if one of the penalties is that the town manager may cause the snow removal to meet the requirements. AKA, I guess we're doing it, but did we have the town staff time to take care of it for people if they didn't do it themselves?
Well, we can also,
We contract.
contract.
Sure, they could contract it out, yeah, because I just remember when we discussed, like, we were worried that we wouldn't have the town staff time to.
If we didn't, we contracted.
yeah. The hope is that we don't actually have to get to that point, but we need some teeth such that it can't just be repeated.
Yeah.
So, great, thanks for getting that in here.
The nick of time.
Right, I'll entertain a motion
To introduce.
introducing this ordinance of the town of Ridgway, Colorado, subsection 14-1 of Ridgway Municipal Code to add more specific regulations concerning snow and ice removal and establishing assessment accounting for failure to maintain sidewalks in winter.
So
I was thinking, I have to read. I didn't try it either. Eric doesn't make it appear.
I think it was
Nobody wanted to read that.
Second. Motion made by Beth, seconded by Russ, in favor. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you. That was great. All right, that takes us to the written and verbal reports. Bo, you have an attorney's report this month? You there, Bo? Here he comes.
Yeah, I'm here, Mayor. Sorry, it was slow on the mute button. So, yeah, I do have a verbal report and it's just brief. I don't know if I can share my screen or if Preston can load the picture that I sent him this afternoon. It's just a follow-up on the natural medicine discussion that we had at last meeting.
Oh, yeah.
At the last meeting.
I'm showing the image, Bo, right now, so they can see it.
Okay, so thanks to Angie, our new town planner, but this is an exhibit that shows the 1,000-foot limitation as per state statute from schools and daycare centers, where there wouldn't be the allowable permitting or licensing for natural medicine facilities. And I wanted to share this with the council so that you all have an opportunity to take a look at it. And then under consideration, if there's anything that you wanted to add, the town of Cedar Edge, that's also a client, they have put forth a limitation that it's the 1,000-foot limitation and then nothing within the residential zone district for these natural medicine facilities. And so I don't know if that's something that the council would like for my office to take to the planning commission for consideration, or if there's any further discussion, but just wanted to have a quick update as to what areas of town would be preempted just by the minimum code requirements under state statute.
So the 1,000-foot is the blue shaded area, right?
That's correct. And Angie and I had a discussion briefly in terms of the known daycare facilities or schools.
I was just gonna say too, I was wondering how you chose those, because someone whose kids went to the Christian center, quite a bit free after school care, that's not reflected on this map, and that'd be a whole nother zone not allowed, but I don't, because it's free, I don't know if it still qualifies as childcare.
Yeah, I don't know if that's registered. I think Angie checked registered facilities. That's why like Voyager, Miss Trina,
yeah.
Weehawken.
Yeah.
Here. Obviously the schools, is the Christian Center still doing?
Yep, oh yeah, the bus drops off every day for school, my kids don't go there anymore, but.
Yes,
they're
there's still,
free, they don't have to.
I don't know its registration status, but there are kids that go there.
Yeah, and they probably don't have to register because it's a free service.
I think as we talk through this though, Preston, the Christian Center would probably meet the definition of one of the school-like facilities. So, you know, as we talk through this, that would exempt out really that lower portion on the
Like
east side of town.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if I look at this, you know, some of the business space along Liddell Street is a place where maybe we would be okay with. Palomino is a place I could see people wanting to do something. Then, I mean, outside of that, you're looking at, that's the light, that's industrial.
Yeah, you've got the light.
Interestingly, the ranch is zoned as general commercial, so someone could open their home facility. In those few houses there on the edge. But it does block out most of the space that I think people would be considering within town.
Well, thanks for this, Bo. I think, you know, that the minutes should show that we are in agreement that the Christian Center should probably have a circle around it as well. I know they would want that, judging from previous minutes we've had with them on marijuana. So, yeah, good to know. There still are some potential spots, but it'd be pretty limited.
Okay, so we will update that map and probably get it on file with the Department of Revenue, just so they're aware of the known facilities. But I'm taking that there's no further direction, and the council just kind of wants to see how things play out, recognizing that there would be potential use or the potential ability for facilities to operate kind of off of Liddell and then in the industrial park, and then in some of the residential zone areas.
Great, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Bo on this item?
Can we get a copy of that?
Of the map?
Yeah.
Yes, we'll update the map and send it your way.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, that brings us to town manager's report. Preston, you want to highlight any of that for us?
Sir. Let's see, we recently sent out the required service line material notifications to a list of about 35 or 36 properties with designated as unknown service line material. And so I think at least one of you on this board will receive a note, one of those notices. We're required to do these notifications annually. But we did our service line inventory by the required deadline of October 15th. And then the notifications were the next step. We've also applied for technical assistance from CDPHE's Lead and Copper Technical Assistance Program. They could do some additional record work, self-assessment surveys, and then depending on availability, some physical verification services like potholing and visual inspection. So that would be huge if we're eligible for that for a lot of properties. So, I met with Kristen Kelly, who's the new Erie County Public Health Director several weeks ago. We talked about the possibility of continuing regular wastewater testing since we are no longer, since now we are designated as emergency wastewater surveillance system, and we weren't invited to participate in that Sentinel surveillance site model through the state. So Kristen was saying that there's potentially some additional grant funding. I don't remember how she described the grant funding, but that could be applied towards this additional testing at the wastewater treatment facilities here in town and then in Uray as well. The hope would be that the state would allow us to continue using that dashboard that they put together and that we were using when we were testing. So we told Chris that sounded great and we'd stand by for next steps. So just an update there. John, you were at the last ad hoc committee meeting on Friday for the public art component of Space Right building. Give an update there.
Yeah, basically we reviewed the updated design. All agreed that we like it. And we talked about doing a actual press release, talking about the details and how we got to where we are on that project, and also pointing out that since there's been kind of a explosion on Facebook about it, and thank you for standing up to the town for the town a little bit, Josie, but you know, basically make it clear that we plan to do more murals in the future, and we want to do specific kind of legacy heritage themed ones in other various locations. So that will be forthcoming. We also need to make sure we work with the neighboring property owner, Bartold and Cat, on access to that alley, which will be blocked off for at least sometime in spring, May, June. But I think we can come up with a solution that gives them access to some of their parking, if not all of it, and maybe from the backside of the street. Things like that were discussed, but we're excited and moving forward.
I have a question. Based on what you mentioned about the explosion on Facebook, which I happened to bump into a week or two ago, I haven't followed since. If the appeasing message is that, you know, we're looking at doing more murals with some of the heritage themes, is there a way to communicate that to people so that it takes some of the heat off of it?
That's what I just said. We're going to do a press release.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Yeah, we're going to do a press release and talk about both how we got where we are on the current mural and plans for future murals, including Art Space talking about another location on their building where one of the resident artists could be hired to do a smaller mural on the third floor balcony that's sort of on the west side of that same stairwell unit where the current mural is going to go.
Can we work into our press release the absolute unworkability of deciding on murals and anything other than a committee? Like, I think it's really important that we realize that art is so subjective. That
public art, we talked about that a bunch of it. Interrupting.
Oh, sorry, it's okay.
Just the idea that public art is always going to stir people up. People that love it, hate it, no matter what it is, no matter how beautiful, incredible, or ugly. There's still going to be people that love it and people that hate it. You just can't make everybody happy. I think
not the example of Lucifer, for example.
No, let's not bring that up.
It's a good one that making sure that going forward, I mean, Ridgway's in a funny, as mayor and as somebody who's been involved with great town government for decades, I can say we're transitioning from sort of the good old boys days where we just said, hey, we need a committee to do something. Let's just call it if she wants to do it, to a period where we're going to actually post notice when a planning commissioner's term comes to an end, so other people can apply for that seat. And same thing for committees that are to do whatever kind of thing that we're doing around town. But that again, people can't just assume that because they feel really strongly about something that they should be appointed to that committee. It's got to be based on their expertise and knowledge of the field and things like that. So it's always going to be tough. And the Facebook thing, just to me, was a perfect example of what Facebook is worst at. And no offense to the paper, but I really wish that they didn't post their articles on Facebook. All that does is just stir people up. I mean, people can read the paper and they can talk about it on the street, but Facebook creates an environment where people can be just the worst examples of themselves. They can just start spewing vitriol, and it's really unfortunate. So
a couple months ago, when you first brought this to us, we said original design, you had said that some of the direction from the committee was to do more local flora and fauna. Is that something that she changed in?
Yep.
Because that's what I was trying. That was a lot of the upset comments I was replying to. People saying, "Well, it doesn't even have local for Alpana.
No,
And so,
definitely-
you know, as far as my
definitely.
knowledge was, that was some of the direction given by the
Yep.
committee listed.
And she did, she added,
I think people will be
also
appreciative of that.
flowers, she added a bunch of native birds, including the state bird blood bunting. Yeah, she did a great job. And I also plan to include a link to her website, because her work is just unbelievable.
Yeah, I think as a board, we got to see all of her other work in that packet,
Right.
and a lot of people that were upset about it online hadn't seen like the whole breadth of her work, and yeah,
And the fact that she
and she does a lot in Colorado.
She spent a lot of time in Colorado. She used
Yeah.
to live here. The only reason she moved to Maryland is because it's cheaper to fly to her family and then wherever in Eastern Europe her family is. So, you know, she has a lot of history here and a lot of love for the mountains. So, yeah, I think all of that can be hopefully fairly succinctly communicated in the press.
I'm excited to see the final.
I want to back up for a second on the CDPHE stuff at the beginning here. I've had at least one neighbor reach out about this. It's not new, but this town has started to publicize it more. The requirement to have your backflow prevention, the irrigation system tested every year. And that I believe we're supposed to supply the results of that test to the town. And not only is the test quite expensive to do annually, I don't think many people are probably sending their reports to the town if they're even doing them.
Yeah, we just had ours done and it was expensive, and I had no idea we were supposed to send it to.
Yeah. So I think we need a little more public outreach on that. And I don't know, I wish there was a way to maybe have and I know this is probably not anything that could happen in the near future, but have one of the town staff trained to do the inspection so that they can come around and do it. And they doing it on a bulk basis could maybe save the residents some money, because it is extremely expensive. And most of us who put in irrigation over the years had no idea that it was happening.
So there's
And
a lot
I
there.
totally get why it's quiet.
Yeah, it's been a requirement for a long time. CDPHE is pretty antiquated in a lot of ways, but yeah, we put out press releases a few times a year. I don't think the town used to do that,
No.
a couple of years ago. And we don't, but we have to track and report specifically to CDPHE or other commercial properties.
Hmm.
And then if we don't meet the compliance ratio, the town gets dinged. We have to meet public noticing requirements. Residents receive in the mail these notices saying that we didn't comply with the backflow prevention regulation and state statutes. And so it's a very interesting process, but beyond that, the state requires that individual homeowners need to get their backflow prevention assemblies tested each year, but not necessarily reported to the local jurisdiction for reporting to CDPHE. So it gets convoluted very fast. We're not allowed currently to get someone on staff trained to
do those tests.
The way I understand it. And they're going through a rule, one of those updates to the rule to require, I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was going to be a lot more stringent and a lot more expensive. If this rule ends up coming into effect, it's going to limit the amount of folks out there that can actually test those assemblies. So I know there's a lot of heartburn around the state about that, and hopefully they don't end up changing that rule. But yeah, that's been a requirement for a long time. Folks to test the thing. Does everyone do it? No. But we have an obligation to encourage people to do that.
Yeah, I guess.
Commercial properties are required and have to report, not municipality gets in trouble.
Okay, thanks.
Just irrigation systems, or?
They're prevalent on boiler units and in irrigation systems. There's probably some other stuff there.
Anything that has a connection to the potable water.
So that's where there's a possibility for backflow, or the bad stuff to get back into the system.
Okay, thanks.
So that. We closed on the direct loan through the drinking water revolving fund on November 1st, which is good news. And so now we're working with Ridgway Valley Enterprises. They were the low bid and working through the notice of award and contracting there. The granular activated carbon project, got the public works crew going up to the water plant, with Joanne and Ron to figure out the plumbing, and install the plumbing to get that system online soon. As a reminder, that'll replace the chlorine dioxide pretreatment, which is for color, taste, and odor. And so we've got, that chlorine dioxide machine we've had for quite some time, and it's been saying for years it's on its last leg, but it keeps continuing. But it'll be nice to remove that from our process. And then I know everyone has probably received texts, maybe phone calls or emails about the greenhouse. We're well aware of the issue and working with the property owner to address the issues in as timely manner as possible. It's very, very interesting and high profile greenhouse that I don't think anyone really thought about the.
I didn't think about the lights.
Yeah.
It's,
yeah.
I thought it was gonna have like outside light coming in. Didn't realize quite how bright it was going to be. Yeah, Holly and I were downtown one night and literal like jaw dropping as it got dark.
It is off now.
Well, yeah, as I walked here, I saw the lights going.
It's
As
off.
I was coming to.
Yeah, the other issue is the patio, the wall. Yeah. What party calls it.
It's actually
Place.
Some of those fixtures are not shielded, clearly not compliant, and you have the string light on top, which is another issue, so we're trying to work our way through that. Happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have questions for Preston?
The code forward, cohort. Keep talking about this. Is exciting, actually, to align those things.
Yeah, shout out to Kim Mills and Eco Action for getting that grant together and getting everyone organized. We have Mike Gill and Jordan and Angie representing the town on that cohort.
That's great. Good news. What do you think about the joke?
I like the joke.
What?
I did. The Northwesterner in me was like clams and mussels are not the same.
It was just a meme I'd sent Preston and made me giggle.
You should have said someone driving a buyback.
I thought it was silly, I liked it.
It's hard to mug a full mussel. It'd be easier if they were happier as a clam.
I do know they're different things. Sorry that we would think that deep in.
It was my very first thought.
Depends on how nerdy you get. All right, any other questions for Preston on that?
I have one, request of staff. Could you change that clock? I get.
Oh,
really
it
hungry
drives me
when I look at it.
nuts.
I think it just runs, oh no, it just has
an
an
hour.
It hasn't
Hasn't been put back in an hour.
Yeah, it has a fallen back.
I kept thinking it was really late.
Boy, that's a
Actually,
relief. I thought it was better.
Also, it's really, it's actually working right now. Yeah.
You know, multi-time.
I'm like, I like the old school, like elementary school clocks that are super
Thank you,
clear and
Preston.
easy to read, like don't.
It's on the back, Just twist the little black thing that you kind of twist.
Little nods.
I can't even see that black, but I assume that's.
Yeah.
I can see its finger like.
That was an efficient request, hot day.
Yeah.
Way to go, Preston.
I'm the best town staff, that is TCOB.
All right, anybody have any committee reports?
Don't have us this weekend.
Don't they?
Starting tomorrow. One for the SAB, quick one.
Sure.
We met almost in the entirety of the members, which is a rarity.
And there's an opening.
And there is an opening. And there's a person that has been attending that's going to apply for it, so she's been to 2 or 3 meetings.
Oh, okay.
We reviewed, Preston was there to hold the members' feet to the fire to review the resolution, review the function. We discussed the structure and some of the angst over not a very well-defined mechanism for providing the actual advice or advisory issues to the council. So we're going to be working through a little bit more of a formal structure, which may involve getting an actual presentation, not necessarily, well, maybe in public comments, but maybe in policy matters to be determined. There was recognition that, the committee is now 3 years old. So it's passing from infancy into the toddler stage and suffering all the usual growing pains as you might expect. Trying to address what is the perception of dysfunction. Preston was instrumental in encouraging the goal setting that would then filter into the work plan, which is part of the strategic plan. So the members have a homework assignment to provide their input to that by Friday. We formed a subcommittee of 2 so as not to violate the sunshine laws that are going to compile those recommendations and then review and vote on them as a committee at the next meeting. And then we also introduced the potential for assistance from Eco Action Partners. They have received a 3-year grant to hire a director position whose job it would be to facilitate and assist the various responsibilities that are associated with climate action plan. That might provide some additional resource and some focus to the group. So all in all, it was a pretty good meeting. One of the better ones that I've attended. And hopefully things will become a little bit more structured and there's action items coming out of the last meeting that will filter into the next meeting. It's all good news.
Is there any discussion around a more consistent meeting date as part of them?
The challenge that any citizen committee has is everybody has a million things going on. So what we've settled on this next meeting is a doodle poll. So, establishing a regular meeting time, which is normal, just like it is for us, apparently hasn't worked so well because only we get 2 or 3 people that can manage to make it. So we're trying to find a way to, get everybody.
Well, now it's a self-perpetuating cycle that no one can make a plan on when the meeting is gonna be, so they just make plans and then yeah.
Right.
I think it needs to be a regular.
I think it needs to be a regular meeting, because
If people can't commit to a regular meeting, then maybe there should be other commitments, that kind of thing.
I don't have a problem in fight. So.
well, but you do, because you're on that board and you're trying to plan around when the heck is the meeting.
yeah, so
You do.
Yeah,
That's,
I'm in favor of regular meeting. It just hasn't worked. So I don't have distinctions.
Okay, well.
Real quick for me, from the chamber, they sent the report over to Preston and I last week, I think, for their, I guess it was Q3 update maybe. But the chamber's done great this year, like well exceeding all of the goals that their contract with the town stated that was developed last, December or January, I think. So, that was just kind of nice to see that all across the board, whether it was social media engagement or email opening or like the different print requirements, digital requirements, whatever, you're handily meeting all of those. I think Ashley Perkins has been instrumental in working really hard to really turn that around and make that a good working relationship with the town this year. So
That's great.
yeah, I really enjoyed going to those meetings. They're working really hard on it. So.
Ashley's been doing an amazing job.
Mhm.
This Blue Point.
And they just brought a couple more people on board onto the board, and so they have a lot of like local people that are energized to sort of help and keep that going.
Yeah, the destination blueprint thing is going on the right time.
That's huge, yeah.
Very cool. All right, anybody else? Now we have an executive session as well. Just read the citation for that. Thanks, Dawn. Do you want to do it, Bo, or you?
No, I was just saying, you guys don't need me for the executive session, so I'm just saying good night.
Okay,
Good night, Bo.
thanks for being here. Good night, Bo.
See you later. Bye.
All right, the town council, I need a motion for town council to enter into a closed session pursuant to Colorado Revised Statutes 24-6-402, parent 4, parent F, the discussion of personnel matters regarding the town manager's annual performance evaluation.
so moved.
So good. I think I heard Josie this time. Is there a second?
Second, open your mouth.
Motion by Josie, second by Polly. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Passes unanimously. All right. So got some.
And
And then.